Hey everybody, and welcome to Kara's Book Corner again. Today I'm going to be reviewing The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. This came out last year and I did read it last year, but since I've just started this YouTube channel fairly recently, I figured with The Wicked King that literally just came out like 2 weeks ago, I figured I would come back and do a review of The Cruel Prince and The Wicked King. They will be in two separate videos. So this video is The Cruel Prince, and I'm also going to be reviewing on my ebook or e-reader The Lost Sisters by Holly Black. This was released a couple months ago, and I bought it right when it was released, but I figured, like I said, all of these are now out, so I'm gonna do reviews. So let's just get started. So this video, again, will feature The Cruel Prince and The Lost Sisters. So if you do not know what this book is about, I don't know how you wouldn't know, because this book has been so hyped the past year. I can't even tell you, like, it's ridiculous. So just a little bit. Oh, I wanted to show you the covers too, because these covers are beautiful. I think this is one of my favorite naked covers of all time. Like, I just think it's gorgeous. So the little synopsis in here says, "Guard your mortal heart. Jude was 7 when her parents were murdered, and she and her 2 sisters were stolen away to live in the treacherous High Court of Fairy. 10 years later, Jude wants nothing more than to belong there, despite her mortality. But many of the Fae despise humans, especially Prince Cardan, the youngest and wickedest son of the High King." Prince Cardan is literally the Cruel Prince, who this whole book is titled after. To win a place at the court, she must defy him and face the consequences. As Jude becomes more deeply embroiled in palace intrigues and deception, she discovers her own capacity for trickery and bloodshed. But as betrayal threatens to drown the courts of Fairy in violence, Jude will need to risk her life in a dangerous alliance to save her sisters and Fairy itself. So yeah, that's pretty much it. This is going to be a trilogy. However, the second book was just released, like I said, like 2 weeks ago. I think it was on January 8th or something. And so this, we've probably got another year before the third one comes out. So we've got some time here. If you haven't read it yet, no worries. If you're looking into seeing if you want to read this trilogy, then this review is for you. So what did I rated this book 5 stars, but I'm still on the fence about it. I just don't know. Like, there are some parts of this book that I really, really like. And while I'm reading the book, I'm completely engrossed. I want to know what happens next. I need to know what happens next. I don't want to do anything else while I'm reading. I'm just thoroughly engaged in this book, which is a really good thing to me. I hate reading a book and I just am not loving it. So I do really appreciate that. Her world building, I've never really read any of Holly Black's other books. So yeah, to me, this is pretty much all I've got. But her world building is very, very good. I really appreciated that. I really appreciate the characters. I think they're really interesting and intriguing. That's one of the really, really good things I loved about this book. Jude is interesting. I think it's really interesting because, so like it said in the synopsis, her parents are brutally murdered. And that's the opening scene in this book, is she is like in the mortal world with her mortal parents, and they are brutally murdered by Madoc, a fairy. And it kind of goes into it, like the backstory. You learn about why he does that and all these things, but it's a very graphic book. If you don't like violence, this is probably not the book for you. But But yeah, it's pretty graphic, especially the first scene where he's literally like killing them. It's a lot of blood, a lot of gore. Um, yeah, so I don't I liked the aspect of it. Like I really liked her characters and I thought they were intriguing. I really feel like reading from Jude's perspective was intriguing. She she grew up in the mortal world until she was like 10, if that. I don't even know. 7. When she was 7. And now she's 17, 10 years later, and she doesn't have a lot of memories of the mortal world, like a few here and there, but not a ton. And so I think it's interesting, like, she really grew up and developed in fairy. And, she has to try and survive, essentially. Like, they're survivalists. And she has a twin sister, Taryn, and their older sister is Vivi. And Vivi is the daughter of Madoc and their mortal mother. They share a mortal mother. And you find out that the mortal mother did live in fairy, years and years ago. And she escaped, and then escaped to the mortal world with Vivi and left Madoc. Well, Madoc tracked her down and killed her and her husband, and then brought the 3 girls to live with him. So she's not even like blood related to any of these fairies. She's fully mortal and she is trying to survive. Her and her twin sister are very interesting. You see a lot of the differences between them in this book. And it's extremely interesting, I felt like, to see the differences between the twins. They are completely different, which was fun and interesting to read about. One of the things that bothered me was Locke. He's a fairy, and he kind of deceives Jude into believing that he's in love with her, or like that he's really interested in her. Well, then you find out some twisted things, and Locke is just like a complete asshole. Like, that's all I gotta say to that. Locke is an asshole. Cardan, I don't even know how I feel about Cardan. Like, I know they're trying to play Cardan as the romantic interest in this series, and I really struggled with that in this first book because he's just a literal, like, manipulative, abusive person. Like, he has no good qualities in this book besides he's pretty. Like, literally, that's all there is. Like, she thinks he's attractive. Okay, great. So we're gonna be okay being in an abusive relationship because he's pretty? Like, no. Okay, and that's my biggest pet peeve with YA authors, like, trying to come at me with these abusive relationships, and I am not here for it. Like, I do not like it. Like, see, I only have 2 tabbies in this whole book, and one of them is literally Jude finally standing up to Cardan because he's being an asshole, and she's like, no. Like, I'm not even gonna read it, but it's on page 76, and it was, like, one of the best moments in this book, I felt like, because she's like, you know what, no, I'm sick of your bullshit. I'm not dealing with this no more. Moving on. So, I loved that part, but you could still kind of see, like, a glimmer that that's what they're trying to do. And then, yeah, they, like, kiss later in the book, and I'm just like, but why? I don't get it. I don't get it. Like, trust me, I ship a lot of, like, weird things, a lot of things that people don't ship, but that's one thing I really struggle with, especially now that I'm older. I really do not like that abusive trope, like, romanticizing the abuse. Like, that's not okay to me. That was my biggest problem with this book, honestly. There are literally so many twists and turns throughout this whole book. I loved it. It kept me on my toes. It kept me turning pages. I could not read it fast enough, and I really, really enjoyed that aspect. Especially towards the end of the book. Like, seriously, the last, like, 50 pages. Well, let's see, 246 to, like, 364. So the last 100 pages. It's just, like, what is happening? What is going to happen next? It was intense. So, yeah, I did rate this book 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. But, yeah, that's really all I gotta say about that. I don't really have a whole lot to say about this first one, honestly. I just don't. I like Jude. Taryn, I have opinions of her twin sister now after I've read The Lost Sister and The Wicked King, but she's not really, she like didn't really make an impact on me in this first book. Again, with the abusive relationships, like I get that they're in Fairy and Fairy's idea of love is completely different. But really, these are the men that you're gonna go after. I don't want to say things because, like, spoilers, but, like, why? I just don't see the appeal. Oh, I did want to mention, this is kind of gonna get spoilery, so, if we don't want spoilers, stop now. Thanks for coming and listening, but spoilers. Okay, so, to get into the spoilery things, because I do want to talk about those, so there's all these like political aspects in this book of the fairy princes. The king is about to give up his crown. What is that word? Like, I can't think of what the word is, but he's going to give it up and he's going to choose one of his children. There's like 6 of them that he's going to choose one of his children to give the throne to. And he is, so there's a lot of, it's not just like the firstborn fairy gets the crown, it's the king chooses. So there's like 3 of them that are pretty sure or like in the running that they're gonna be the next high king or queen of fairy. And so there is like a lot of the politics in this book. And so like halfway through here, they're going to the coronation. It's a huge party. The king's gonna make his announcement publicly, and Jude has found herself before this in one of the princes. She's basically a spy for one of the princes because mortals can lie in fairy and fairies cannot lie. That doesn't mean they can't deceive. Like, they can still clearly deceive. I want to put that out there. But mortals can lie, and fairies cannot lie. So, yes, it's very intriguing. She has got herself into being a spy for Prince Dane, who is basically one of the top contenders for the crown, and basically everyone thinks that he is going to be the next king of fairy. So she finds herself in the I don't know, she's like part of his, they call it a court of shadows. So she's part of his court of shadows, which are like all of these spies and people that work for Dane, Prince Dane. So and the whole reason I mention this is because Prince Dane gives her a blessing, essentially, that she can no longer be, what's the word? She can no longer be, like, controlled by fairies. Like, fairies can use certain tricks on mortals, and they can, like, you can become so like not ingrained, but like so obsessed with them. Like when they use their ability on you as a mortal, you cannot get away from it. Like you have to do what they say. And so she gets this boon from the Prince Dane, and he basically says that she can no longer be controlled by fairies. And I cannot even tell you how many times that she gets in these situations, not even just in book 1, but like in book 2 and 3, or book 1.5. Not really 1.5, just book 1 and 2. 1 and 2, where she gets in these situations that it's like, if you did not have that special ability, you'd be dead, girl. Like, you would not survive this. So it's a real good thing you have that, because otherwise this story would be over. Like, you'd be dead. Just controlled by fairies. It's cool. It's cool. It's fine. Anyways, that was like the most intriguing thing I wanted to talk about. For the remaining of the series, that is incredibly important and really awesome that she got that. So, I will be talking about more spoilers in my video for The Wicked King, because there's a lot of spoilers that happen literally in the last like 150 or like the last 50 pages of this that really have a huge impact on book 2. So, like I said, lots of twists and turns. So good. If you have not picked it up, I would recommend it. Yeah. So I hope you have a good day, and I will talk to you later. Okay, bye.